Hi everyone. So Compassionate Kids has been released for a month now, and I wanted to go over some of the more frequently asked questions. And coincidentally, they kind of center around accommodating different learning styles and different learners. So the first area I want to cover, which has been one of the most common questions, is how to adapt this for a younger learner. So when you download the instructor guide for Compassionate Kids, it gives you a little bit of info on this, and I will touch on that, but I also want to give a little bit more clarifying information. When you are looking at the instructor guide for Compassionate Kids, there are spines, which are books that carry through multiple lessons, and then there are feature books, which are used 1 to 2 times in the curriculum. The best way to adapt this for younger learners, if you are dealing with like a kindergarten learner or even trying to make this work for a pre-K learner, is to take out the growing feelings spine and save it for maybe in a year or two. The situations that are in growing feelings plus the verbiage that is used in growing feelings can sometimes be a little bit hard for younger learners to understand at times. Now, you obviously know your learner best, and you can look through that spine and choose to use it as well. But if I was going to take out a spine to make it easier to comprehend, that would be the one that I would use. For younger learners as well, this is also an accommodation all around, is slow it down. So they're labeled lessons and not weeks for a reason. And the reason they're labeled that way is so you can take time exploring these topics. You can take time to look through the videos and read the books. And especially if you are doing the prismatic level, some of the books are a little bit longer, so graphic novels are in there, of course, and those can be read kind of quickly. But there are some traditional novels that are accompanying lessons, and if you plan on using that as a resource and reading those traditional books as well, feel free to span out the time a little bit. So if you are working with a younger learner, slow the time down a bit, take away growing feelings, and see how it flows a little bit better for you. Another way to get that working for your younger learner is to do a spines only option. So the feature books, yes, they do directly connect to the lesson theme and they are important, but I've also had some people say because they're newer, they're a little bit harder to source in their library, and that's valid. Totally understand that. If you can't access it right now, that is a great thing to put on like your TBR list and grab it from the library when you can. The spines are going to have the meat of the information for most of the lessons. There are a few lessons that the feature book kind of gives the information to it, and that's noted within the lesson. So that should help you be able to figure it out. The next way you kind of can accommodate this for your younger learner, but this also goes for other neurodiverse learners that may have fine motor delays, is to scribe for your learner. There is some writing in journals, and the journals are ultra personal. They're meant to be read to your learner if they're not reading yet, and they are accommodating in the way that you can scribe for them. There's a lot of drawing and writing and coloring that goes along with this to help connect the learner to the topic. So if they're not comfortable doing that yet, feel free to scribe for them. Let them tell you what they think, and you can note it down. As I mentioned before, you can extend the timeline, and I do actually recommend it. Don't make this be a weekly schedule. Make it flow for your learner. Some lessons may take longer, some you may breeze through, and that's okay. Can I do one level and then the next? I've had this question often recently, and yes, you can. So there are some things that kind of work with both levels. Some videos are listed for both. Some of the spines are listed for both. But when you go through the chromatic level, you can get a good surface level understanding, a little bit deeper connection. But when you go through the prismatic level, it connects you to the world around you in different ways. Especially the journals are completely different if you have not looked at them. They offer completely different information. They offer things in a different context and a different level of understanding as well. They're meant to be done as almost a separate but same curriculum. This means that the discussion questions, some of them, work for both levels. But it does mean that the activities for the journal, which is meant personal for the learner, are different but around the same topic. What about if my child is non-speaking or shy communicator? I made sure that I included in my guide, and I consulted someone who has non-speaking children about my wording and the way I did this. So discussions can happen with AAC devices, or you can turn to Reflect and make it a conversation where you are sharing information and they draw what they think. You can also make it a little bit different in the sense of you don't have to make it a discussion. You can make it a journal prompt reflection if they're writing. Last is closing activities. So I did make closing activities for every lesson. Some of them require going out into the community. And I understand that some families are not able to access their community very well, whether it be for safety reasons or health reasons. So if you have to skip those activities, there is not someone around policing you. But they do connect directly to the activity, give some hands-on experience for your learner so the learner can connect to the lesson theme as well in another way. There are a lot of elements to Compassionate Kids, and I understand that. And the reason I made it that way is for diverse sets of learning. So if you have a learner that is really visual, the books you might want to limit on, or choose the graphic novel options and things like that to connect better. If you have a learner that, for health reasons, can't connect to the outside world very well, then skip the closing activities that suggest going outside and connecting in that way. There are many ways to help this work for your learner. And if one of the questions here did not help answer things you might be wondering, feel free to contact me below in the comments or email me at diversebooksandschooling@gmail.com, and I will see what I can do to help you out.